So as we discussed in last chapter, the three main areas of being a product manager are design, business, and engineering. And while in college, you're going to want to really focus on developing your skills within these three areas. And I'd rather you focus on these three areas than just trying to blindly follow the path that I laid out in last chapter, because ultimately it's going to be more natural and it's going to be more true to yourself if you just focus on doing what you love on the things that fall into these three intersections. So while in college, the three skills that you should be focusing on are your technical ability, your design ability, your business skills, which can come in multiple forms, and then your ability to work in a team, your communication skills, and finally, your ability to be a leader. So in terms of your technical ability, most likely a computer science degree will take care of everything you need to know, but you simply need to just be familiar with the basics, such as data structures, algorithms, web servers, and ultimately how an app functions together, because the main importance of your technical ability is to be able to communicate with engineers and the developer leads that you'll be interacting on a daily basis. The typical technical questions that you would get in an interview are going to be along the lines of, tell me about a technical product that you've worked on, design how Uber's app works, design how a banking system works, or a simple algorithm question, which aren't super common. But ultimately, the ability of your technical ability is going to come into importance when you need to weigh engineering trade-offs between two different product features. You may not have to know exactly how everything's coded, but you need to understand how it works together and how it functions. So my main suggestion to really develop your technical muscle is by simply, if you're able to build an application, the full stack, front end, back end, that's going to be most likely more than enough to be fine in any technical interview that for a PM position. So the next piece is your design ability, and this can really come in two forms. One, your ability to actually make the UX design of web pages, and then also product design, so thinking about the user journey and how the product works. And both of these I think are really appreciated. Being great at UX probably is definitely less common, just because it's a much harder skill to develop. But ultimately, the reason you want to develop these skills is that way you're ultimately going to be making a lot of the user flow decisions, and that's where your design ability is going to come in. And you're going to be able to work with the UX designers to decide what the user journey is and what the app is going to look like. For example, one of my friends actually took second place in Twitter's national design competition, and all he did was he just created the user journey for the front end of the app, and the app looked spectacular, but he had created that beautiful layout flow, and this was just an example of something that you could do to either show your expertise in design or just to practice it. And ultimately the design, if you're to make a full stack app, that's going to also help develop your design muscle. And being a good designer is just really understanding why a customer chooses what and why certain product features are made certain decisions about it. So why did they do X? Why did they do Y? And really understanding and be able to empathize with your customer to make those decisions about your product. So one of the last kind of core pieces is business, and that really captures a lot. It could be entrepreneurial, it could be marketing skills, it could be strategy, it could be finance, advertising. There's a lot of things that kind of just make someone business savvy and be able to think about the broader market decisions. Ultimately though, when it comes to being a PM, what's really important is kind of thinking about the strategy and this business decision. So what's the business case for something? How are we going to monetize this? What's going to be the return on it? And then what's the go-to-market strategy? What's our marketing strategy for the product? And that's really where that business savviness is super important. For example, right now I'm working on a marketing campaign and trying to push a promo for one of our products at Microsoft. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I'm ultimately better than some of the people on my team at developing those business cases because of my background. And I think the two best ways to really develop this are either one, by far, this is the best one, starting your own business to really learn about all those things, And then the second one is probably taking on a strategy or marketing role at a company to develop these skills. A lot of people take on business internships pretty early on and then go to technical ones as they increase their abilities to program. But again, the key part of this is just developing that business mindset so you're not just that technical person. What makes you different, and be able to think about a product in a broader scope than the engineering leaves. And that's why it's really important to develop your business savviness along with your technical and design ability. So lastly, I'm going to just group the other things that we talked about into something called soft skills. And what soft skills are is they're not necessarily something that you send a piece of paper like, oh, I can code in C++, but they're the intangibles. So the three most important are definitely your communication skills, being able to work in a team, and then your leadership ability. And it's really important because of this, as the PM, you're working with marketing teams, finance teams, data and intelligence teams, and the engineering teams, and you need to be able to communicate with all these different people and to coordinate with them. And you're not necessarily the boss of them, but you need to be the leader who really drives everything forward. I think one of the best ways to develop all three of these skills is really just either starting or running a club where you have that leadership position, you're running meetings, you need to communicate with everyone, and you need to work with everyone. And you can develop these skills in a lot of different ways, but if you can't communicate or work with other people, you're gonna have a really tough time being a PM. And I think by focusing on developing your technical, design, or business skills, you can develop these three as well. But just keep that in mind as you're going through college, that these are three skills that you really should need to focus on and develop, because most PMs are going to be top notch in all three of those. So these are really the core areas that you need to develop throughout college, while along with developing your internship and work experiences. So really focus on these main areas. And if you see the attached document, I've included an entire list of different ways that you can develop all of these skill sets.